We will even go to the place of we will tell people to stop their regular supplement protocol because a lot of your supplements are toxic and they're keeping you from healing properly, and they're inundating, they are bogging down your liver, and they are keeping pathways from happening because we just think that we're being healthy by taking a handful of supplements in the morning, but they can be doing more harm than good.
Welcome to the True Health Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lonnie Bagwell, stress, inflammation, and functional health clinician.
And I'm your co-host, Brigitte Spurgeon, metabolism and nutrition expert.
This podcast is where we bring hope, truth, and inspiration for your holistic health journey.
Because the world needs the best version of you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to True Health Solutions podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lonnie Bagwell, with my co-host,
Brigitte Spurgeon. Nice to see you all.
And we are excited to dive into our second part to talking about toxicity and detoxification. And as always, we start off our show with something that we're personally doing as it relates to the topic at hand. And again, this is part two. Last week, you got to hear about a couple of things that we're going through right now as it pertains to encountering toxins. And then and we talked about the solution being carrying our detox lifestyle with us wherever we go, whether it's out to the restaurant or halfway around the world, right? And so, Brigitte, we were talking pre-show. What's one of the things that that you brought with you from here to Mexico that you think is paying big dividends in the category of toxicity and detoxification?
I had to be very wise in what I selected because I was limited on space in my suitcase. Literally everything I have fits into a suitcase and a backpack. And I'm so glad that I brought my G-Cell and my Bind with me. And certainly I went over some detox symptoms that I'm having in the form of some like pimple blisters, like a rash on my legs, most likely from drinking out of plastic water bottles or just shifting, the foods that I'm eating, the water that I'm drinking in my lifestyle now. So I've been very intentional with taking my G-Cell in the morning, my Bind, which one of the main components in that is activated charcoal so that it can support binding those toxins and removing them from my body, because otherwise they're just going to circulate around my body, deposit somewhere else, and I will perpetuate the problem.
Right on. And actually, we talked about that at the detox workshop that we taught recently, and we just said at a foundational level, if you were to do one thing, if you could only afford to do one simple thing, and you were going to travel and do one thing, we said grab a bottle of some kind of a binder so that at least while you're away, you don't accumulate more toxicity, right? So now you're doing something more advanced than that because you have the other component to go with a binder, which is actually intracellular detox supplement. And so we'll talk more about that maybe on this show or on our next show as we dive deeper into the solutions. And as for me, quick update on the parasite detox that I've been doing as a part of a bigger detox protocol. For one, we now officially have evidence that parasites have left the building. So that's good. So that's a great update. We're happy about that, right? So not anything anybody wants to hear about, but we're on True Health Solutions podcast. So we talk about anything and everything related to health. And that's just one of the things we need to talk about. And I feel good, actually. I went through a few days of purging, as they would call it. In response to that, I jumped into the infrared sauna at the urging of my bride. She was like, just go get in the sauna, just go get in the sauna. So I ended up doing it, I think, 5 times over 2 days. So I actually logged a few hours worth of being in the infrared sauna. And it honestly pushed me through the purging phase really quickly within 2 days. And then I started feeling a lot better after that. What's neat is, and I think that this is really neat, there's a complex approach to handling a parasite, which we can talk about again maybe later today or on our next episode if we decide that we want to dive into the details of that. But so it ends up being several different supplements, and when I take them, I can feel it. Like I literally can feel, I can feel my liver. I can feel my gut. Like I can feel things actually happening while I'm doing it, which to me again is encouraging. That because that's what I'm doing this for. I'm not eating a different way and taking all these supplements and having spent all this money on something, just encouraging me to actually feel that something's happening, then be able to see the end product and just know that I'm getting healthier. So
how long
we might have to dedicate a whole episode to parasites.
I know, it's fascinating. How long did it? So what day were you on your protocol when you noticed the release of parasites from your body?
For me, it was day 6, 7, day six,
Good to know.
seven. Yep, on there, yep. So, and it just kinda I was like I was eating different, just kinda moving right along, doing everything I was supposed to be doing, and I was wondering if I was doing it right, so I had to keep, like, kinda checking my sheets, making sure that I'm following the protocol correctly. This I'm a patient, right?
Mm.
Just like we coach patients, and then right around day 6, 7, I was like, "Oh, that doesn't feel good in my stomach," and then I went to the bathroom, and then that kinda started a about a 24 to 36 hour straight of just like my eyes were kind of watering, my nose was running a little bit, like it was just kind of crazy. My body was literally just pushing stuff out.
Mm.
And like I said, I feel better now, and we'll continue the process of, making sure that we got everything we needed to get during this cycle. But yeah, it was crazy. Yeah,
It's
6
so
days in.
important. It's so important for us to measure the success of our protocols, right? And so that's one of the values of testing for me. I see the value of living a detox lifestyle, and I'll do detox protocols like with or without testing. But the value of testing is to see the progress and to see the results, because like if it's fruitless, there's no point. You could be doing a protocol that doesn't work. And so when you have pre and post testing, you can now have the confidence that what you did had results and is moving you in the direction of your health and healing.
Yep, absolutely. And you just made me think too, to encourage people, like sometimes you're detoxing and you don't feel anything right away. Sometimes you feel stuff right away. The key with detoxification is just to remain consistent. These toxins, they go all over the place, right? They're stored in our bone marrow. They're stored in our liver. They're stored in fat cells. They're stored in joints. They're literally it's in our blood and all other tissues. And so some stuff just seems to, a lot of the cleanses, it kind of just cleans everything, in our blood maybe, and in our digestive system, and kind of moves things through that way. But when we're talking true detox, we're talking about getting it out of the farthest reaches of our cells, and all of our cells having a chance to be truly healthy. And so one of the things that so I wanted to start talking about solutions this week, and we have to start with the basics. And really, we've been talking about detox lifestyle. We keep using that term over and over again because it really has to be just a part of everyday life. And so the first thing we're always going to do, of course, like we started talking about last week, was just to remove all of the toxins from around us. Right, swap out the personal care products. You mentioned Crunchy before. Swap out our cleaning supplies in our house. Just stop filling up your buckets, your cells that are like buckets. Stop filling those up over and over and over again to overflow, with the toxins in our environment. So one example that I thought of when we were talking pre-show about today was really the weight loss program that we created. It has it has a detox component to it without that being a primary focus of the program. Like, just naturally, people are going to detox by being on that. Can you talk a little bit more about how, well, for one, I guess, why it's important as it relates to people who they come in, they say, I have 30 pounds to lose. I got a wedding coming up. Like, I need to take this weight off ASAP. Why is detox? How does detox play a role in that? And then just mention to everybody listening how, um, I guess, just how our process naturally supports, ongoing detox.
Yeah, so the thing is, the foundation of our weight loss program is actually less about the scale and fat than is about healing the body. So the foundation is healing metabolism, but really metabolism, if you look at the fundamentals of metabolism, it's actually cellular health. And so when we look at the health of a cell, just like you said, Dr. Bagwell, like toxins, they go into a cell they disrupt the cell membrane, and they go into a cell, and then they get stored there, and they will then disrupt also the organelles within the cell. So the mitochondria being an organelle in the cell, you have the nucleus, you got everything going on there. And so that causes cellular inflammation. That cellular disruption, inflammation, then affects the cell membrane, which really, you and I would argue that is the most important, like membrane, like the brain of the cell, the most important part of the cell, because it houses the receptors. So when we look at
Hmm.
metabolism, what I find with 95% of patients on our programs is they have insulin resistance, which means those insulin receptors in the cell membrane aren't functioning properly. So if I just put someone on a nutrition protocol, put someone on a diet, but don't heal the cell membranes or don't allow like the body and the cells and the organs to heal, then that's just like taking a medication, to be honest. Like that puts someone on the weight loss roller coaster. That's symptom management, just like a
Yeah.
blood pressure medication
Yeah.
manages the blood pressure. It's never healing anything. And so the foundation of true health and all of our protocols is about healing the root cause of the problem. So to do that, we have to remove the interference. We have to remove what's keeping the body from functioning properly, and that's going to be toxins, disruptors. So that can be hormone disruptors, cell organelle disruptors, and things that cause inflammation. So the way that we're doing that very simply in the weight loss program is eliminating the toxins that are coming in by mouth. That's food and liquid and medications and supplements. So
Yep.
we will even go to the place of, we will tell people to stop their regular supplement protocol, because a lot of your supplements are
Right.
toxic and they're keeping you from healing properly, and they're inundating, they are bogging down your liver, and they are keeping pathways from happening, because we just think that we're being healthy by taking a handful of supplements in the morning, but they can be doing more harm than good. And
I hope
so
people listen to this are ready to hear that.
so we're simplifying, and then
That's a tough pill for them to swallow.
excuse
Forgive
the
the pun.
pun. I love it. So then the next thing that we educate on our program is also what you put on your skin, because what you put in your skin absorbs into your blood and is affecting your your
Right.
toxic load basically in your body. So because we do such a great job at just removing interference, we're not taking a specific supplement to detox the cell or to support the liver. Actually, it's just the simplicity of just removing the things that we just inundate our body with on a daily basis. And so now that allows the liver to start functioning better. When the liver functions better, guess what? It can metabolize fat better. When we have
Right.
less cellular inflammation, now those receptors heal, and now we can metabolize our foods better. And we certainly, for weight loss, we're going to do protocols that are going to reduce the like carbohydrate load in our body, so we can give that pathway a break. But also what that does is, when it allows the body to heal, I don't want to set my patients up for a lifestyle of not eating carbohydrates. There's health value to carbohydrates. We want to get their bodies, their physiology back to a place where now they can process and metabolize carbohydrates well. So
Yeah,
that's one.
and if you're just inundated with toxins, yeah, on a consistent basis, that's just not going to happen. You're going to lose the sense, like you said, insulin sensitivity. There are other hormones that you need to be sensitive to, and that need to be balanced properly. And what a lot of people don't realize, because we talk about this a lot when we're working on hormones, on the functional side of things with more true health functional programs. People don't make the connection, but I have to teach it every single time. They'll come in, they'll say, "I'm having infertility issues. My hormones are out of balance. I just know they are," or they come in with labs that say that they are, and I'll start talking about the liver, and and they kind of, you can tell I have to take a step back and walk into that again and be like, well, let me explain to you why this matters. Well, those hormones are two things. The liver is responsible for healthy cholesterol levels, which becomes healthy pregnenolone, which becomes the basis for all of the estrogen and progesterone. So, as well as testosterone and cortisone, and all the steroid hormones. And so the liver is the key to laying down the proper building blocks for healthy hormones. At the same time, it also does the estrogen detox. So now you create the hormones and it levels them off. And so if you have a toxic liver, good luck balancing out your hormones, or if you can temporarily with a lot of the functional medicine protocols out there nowadays, good luck keeping it that way. if you don't have a clinician that has actually helped target the liver. And it's the same thing with weight loss. I think it's a parallel what you were just saying, right? Plus, we're not even talking right now about how hormones are impacted by and affect your ability to lose fat, and keep it
Certainly.
off long term, right?
The other part
Yeah.
of
So
it is,
toxicity, I was just going to say it's unavoidable. Like if you're not, if you want to lose weight, if you want to not get Alzheimer's, if you want to, have more energy to get through your day, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a high-level executive at one of the big banks in Charlotte here, right? Like no matter what you want to do, your goals in life, the effect that you're wanting to come out of your life through being healthier runs through your liver.
and this is, at a cellular level, this is how I explain it to my patients. When your cells are unhealthy metabolically, they are not making energy like they're designed to make. So our cells are designed to metabolize our fuel, so whether that's glucose or ketones, into ATP, into energy. But if they're not healthy, guess what? They're taking that fuel and they are creating basically, it results in inflammation and fat storage. It literally just tells our liver to turn on fat storage. And so talking about storage, so our cells store toxins, and more specifically, the cells that do very well at storing toxins are our fat cells, our adipose cells. So, and we have fat in different places. So we have subcutaneous fat. So that's the fat that we can pinch on our body, and those cells are going to expand as we store fat. But then we also have fat that accumulates around our vital organs, and that's called visceral fat. And so the thing is, our body is so smart and it knows that it needs to protect us from toxins, that literally when we're inundated with toxins, it will just create more fat. And so that's how we end up with fatty liver disease, and we end up with all this, just like this fat. You see
Hmm.
this, I know, being from South Africa, like men men very traditionally, like they drink a lot of beer, and so in South Africa it's called a beer book. But I think, what do they call it in America, Dr. Bagwell? Is
Beer
it is
belly,
it a
that
beer
would
beer
work.
belly? Okay, beer. So it's the hard belly. You can literally like tap on its hard.
Right.
Whereas a lot, like if me, if I have fat on my stomach, it's squishy fat where you can pinch it. But you have these men with like the hard belly, and so that is traditionally the visceral fat, because the fat is underneath the muscle layer versus above it. And so you just think about that fat that's accumulated around the organs. And why? Because it's our vital organs. Our body knows that is top priority to protect those organs. So then the other place that our body stores in our adipose tissue, which a lot of people don't realize, is that our brains and our spinal cords are
So
made out of
important.
fat tissue. So now
Yep.
you end up with neurotoxicity,
Yep.
right? and
Absolutely.
and that can even be a little harder to detox. And maybe Dr. Bagwell, you can talk about that a little bit more. But the thing is, when it comes to being stored in the fat, is now that fat tissue on your body has purpose. And this is now when someone is struggling to lose weight, because that fat is serving a purpose and the body doesn't want to let go of it. So we have to simultaneously actually be reducing toxin load, and be allowing the body to detox, for the body to be like, oh, okay, I can release.
This is the part of this that I love to talk about. You hit on a few good things. Gosh, I'm not going to remember all the things that I want to comment on. But one thing is, I was going to tell everybody, I was in a neuroanatomy lab, and I remember when our professor got a new brain that came in that we were going to look at, and he cut the brain right down the middle, just into the two halves, like like you typically see, that line down the middle of the brain. And when it fell open and had a sheen to the inside, and it was heavy metal toxicity, and it really makes a huge impact. I don't have it in front of me right now, so I would read to you like the 30 different symptoms that come from having mercury, excess mercury floating through your body, or in this case, in this person's brain. But the thing, I think the biggest principle that I wanted everybody just to not miss, it might seem small, but I got to hit it, because what you're saying there is what you just taught is that the body has this incredible innate ability to protect itself. And if you're not losing fat because of toxicity, it's still doing the most perfect thing that could possibly be doing in that moment to protect you. Now, why would that innate process kick in to do that? Because toxins harm your cells, because they kill cells and they damage organs. right? So we could sit here and talk about this for 10 hours, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just have to step back and observe the fact that you're already a miracle, and everybody believes, that the body can heal from a cut and can heal from cancer. Like, let's just observe it for a second and honor the body and honor what it's doing, right? If it's absorbing toxins to protect you, they must be pretty bad for you, right? And so, and if we understand, and that's the beautiful thing about the weight loss program, again, this is what gets me excited. Everything in our office is done to be congruent with how God created the body. And so, and that's because I was just talking to someone about the weight loss program actually this morning, another doctor who wants to have the weight loss program in his office. And the issue that he ran into was that all the other programs are incongruent. They're just new ways to manipulate the body. And he's like, so why is yours so successful? Like, why do you have so many people that are losing weight consistently? That's exactly what he said. And I said, because we work with the body. Doc, you know better. You know this. That's your philosophy. Like, we're going to actually figure out how the body works and work with it. So, we're not going to force it and manipulate it and make it more toxic in other areas so we can temporarily detox it, in this area. And so, anyway, that's some of the most principled talk that you're going to hear on this podcast. So make sure that you stay tuned. If that's congruent with what you believe and that gets you excited, this podcast is for you. Now let's dive back into detox real quick here. I just want to talk about because I want to give everybody a little bit more of an understanding of how like what we're doing. Like there is a method to the madness, and there are kind of standard approaches that we can take. So some of the things that you said. So I'm just going to recap. One, remove the source of the toxicity. Right. Two, do something to support the cell membrane health, because not for today's episode, but the nucleus that we were taught was the brain of the cell, we now know is no longer the brain of the cell. Okay. The nucleus is a bag of DNA. All right. But at the end of the day, the membrane is what allows things in and out and causes the cell's actions to be ramped up or ramped down. Right. Then the third thing is restore cellular energy. All that's saying is that once you have a healthy cell membrane, feed the cell good stuff so that it can do what it's already designed to do, which, by the way, those of you listening right now, it's designed to detox itself. So if we just stop dosing it, get the membrane healthy, and then feed it energy to be able to do what it's designed to do naturally and just passively, you're going to actually turn on detox inside the body at a cellular level, which then is going to ultimately affect tissues, which make up organs, which make up you, right? So healthy truly from the inside out. And then keep fighting inflammation. I heard you say that too. Just everything, anti-inflammatory eating, medications that we're on, whatever it is that we can do, we can reduce in order to be able to reduce inflammation. And then the last thing that I would add for the basic level of our kind of basic outline of how we approach detox is now let's go support that liver. So now we're going to shift from the cells over to the liver. Let's make sure that that is actually functioning the way it's supposed to. Of course, again, that's got some complexities and uniqueness to it, and how that has to be supported. And then the last steps are really the practical, like very kind of like the big steps, which is just make sure, like, how's my lymph moving, right? Are my kidneys clear? How do I keep stuff moving through my bowels? Because if my cells are kicking out toxins and now my liver's kicking out toxins, what do we need to do to make sure that that pathway just keeps moving cleanly so that we don't reabsorb, or what we call retox, all of that detox that we were just doing and cause more damage. Um, and you had alluded at the beginning of the episode to the last thing that I'll talk about as far as our methodology, which is we're always going to include a binder, which is what you took to Mexico with you, right? So you took G cell, which is actually going to help that cell membrane, like we talked about, and help get toxins outside the cell. And then you took a binder with you. So now that's actually going to bind to the toxins and help that be removed out of the body. And it actually has, that particular product has magnesium in it, which also then helps keep the bowels moving the way that they're supposed to. Like we were just talking about. So anything you want to add to our basic framework of how we approach, I'm going to say general toxicity, because again, if you get into a parasite or you get into a certain type of a heavy metal, you do have to use this framework, but then get real specific and targeted. But as far as general toxicity concerned, anything that you want to add to that, Brigitte?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that purpose of the binder to, and I'll just mention this because I do notice this pretty frequently when someone starts a program and when you are reducing toxic load, but also when you're reducing sugar, that actually allows your body to, because sugar feeds candida or can
Mm-hmm.
feed bacterial growth. And so now when you eliminate it, it actually now can cause a die-off. So we actually will see candida is very common, But a lot of people, they just may not be expressing the symptoms of it, but now they will notice a candida die off. And we notice that with us, one of the symptomatologies would be like a rash, groin,
Hmm.
abdomen, under the arms. And so for us, that's a telltale sign, oh, they're detoxing candida. But just if they're on their weight loss program alone, if they don't have that binder, now what happens is those see, because when candida dies, they release the candida still there, and they're releasing toxins into the system, and then those toxins circulate, and that's when someone can get a thrush or a rash or brain fog, or that, I mean, you can just really go downstream with those symptoms. And so immediately we're getting a binder in there, so that those toxins can get out of the system. So I didn't want to miss mentioning
Yeah,
that. And then
that's good.
the other part is just the power of an anti-inflammatory diet and reducing the inflammation in the body, because now it allows that body to heal at a deeper level. But the thing is, it's like healing begets healing begets healing. It goes deeper. So the thing is, that whole concept with some weight loss programs where you have like a cheat day, or, well, you don't have to be perfect, or you shouldn't be perfect or restrictive. But the thing is, if you're let's say allowing one cheat crappy meal a week, guess what? Now you don't get to go deeper in healing, because now you're just causing a reset of inflammation or toxicity, and now you don't allow your body to go to that next level. And I feel like that's really important for people to understand, is it's not
100%.
restriction for restriction sake, it's restriction for healing that begets more healing, that begets more healing. And so I notice when I look at a process of someone losing weight on our protocols, the first way that they're going to lose weight is actually releasing inflammation from their body, which a lot of times people are like, oh, that's just water weight. No, it's so much more powerful than that. You're releasing inflammation from your body, which now allows you to go to that deeper level of losing weight, which is now you can actually get to the fat loss place of losing weight. So losing inflammation, then targeting your fat stores, which the more you go into metabolic healing, you will get deeper and deeper stores. Like if you're someone I store fat on my thighs, right? And you have some people, it's like they always keep fat on one plate, where stomach, thighs, back, underarms, wherever that place is, face maybe for some people. But the more you go into metabolic healing, you will target deeper into those fat stores, and to be able to release that. And then the amazing phase after that is now when your body gets to a place where you can metabolize all food sources, you can metabolize your carbohydrates, and that's a place where you can maintain your weight with less restricted eating and more diversified eating.
Yeah, I think that, and and if someone's listening to this and they're, maybe weight loss or fat loss isn't their thing, this is completely relevant physiology. Like this is also, but if that same person has GI issues, guess what? This is the type of physiology that they're going to experience, because this is a core value. This is an essential of health. This isn't like just a good idea. Right. And that's the point we're trying to get across with this series on detox is, this is truly a lifestyle, and there's simple to complex ways, and, that we're in comprehensive ways that you can incorporate this into your life or whatever. So we're going to walk you through, what all that looks like on future episodes, but that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. Thank you for tuning in to True Health Solutions podcast, and make sure that you like this episode and subscribe so you get all the notifications for whenever we drop the next episodes. We love you. We thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today. Brigitte, you got anything you want to say?
No, enjoyed to be with you today. Have a good rest of your day.
See you next week. Thanks for joining us today on True Health Solutions podcast. Make sure that you click to subscribe. Also, go to our website, www.truehealthcharlotte.com, where you can download any resources related to today's show or any future shows. And lastly, if you search for True Health Center Group on Facebook, you'll be able to join our free health community. We look forward to seeing you there.